So, first of all, I really thank you a lot for opening up this beautiful space here to share. And yes, my question also has to do with my age, I guess, and being young and certain desires in me, this longing, this desire to just surrender to the cosmos and to finally realize that I'm already one with everything, and in order to find to my full potential and do my job in a good way in this world. And now I'm 21, and yes, I have this, okay, I really want to go straight. I don't want to look too much left or right. I just want to go for it. And especially people around me are telling me, hey, don't take it too serious. You're young, be young. And I don't know, it's sometimes a little bit in conflict with what I actually feel, and sometimes it makes me even doubt if this longing and this desire just to surrender, if it's okay that I have it, or if I should, yes, I don't know, be young and live a life like a usual 21-old guy would do.
Which is?
I don't know.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So already makes the two of us. Because when I was 21, I didn't know what it means to be 21. But I hear you. I hear you. So, did you arrive to your question? Because I don't want to interrupt you. I just couldn't resist.
Yeah, I think my question is, how do I know what to do? I mean, I also started this yoga teacher formation this year. One of my biggest intentions in order of this decision was to find a master, to find my guru. And now sitting here, don't know if it has to do with destiny, or I have this questions. I don't know whom or which instance I should trust. From where shall it go, and what is to do? Is there even anything to do? Don't know. It's not a question like this directly on a point. It's more a little bit reflecting my kind of lostness.
Very good questions. Very good questions. Because let's face it, if you don't ask these questions now, most likely life will take over, the so-called life will take over, and there will be less propensity to ask these questions. Because by virtue of being fully taken over by whatever that would be, there would be less propensity to answer this, okay? And I will just be for each other, but be for yourself right now. This is very important, okay? When we leave the room, then because this is very important, you do not project anything, you stay with, this is why you are here for, okay? And this should be always brought into right? Even comforting the nearest and dearest one, let's say someone feels like in distress, or someone, it's a rule of the thumb. It's a subtle nature of this work, and you've been at the immersions. So these questions are meant to be asked by you. That means you are not 21 for nothing, because this is the time to ask these existential questions. And they are approximately, I would say, coming to our life around that time, slightly earlier, could be. It could be from, I would say, as early as 16 onwards. By the time we reach our early 20s, sometimes because these questions were asked with full sincerity, we become like an arrow there. You see? This is the expression of Jim Morrison of the Doors. You know, that I feel that my life now is as the arrow that is being released. That all that before was drawing of the arrow. See? Okay, maybe not the best example in terms of, right? He's only lived apparently to the age of 27, right? But an amazing poet. He influenced and influences right now lives of so many people because of the capacity to touch certain areas of the psyche, which is considered to be formidable. Even now, back then certainly, in terms of the collectively shared consensus. There was this inexplicable desire to express, you see? How, what, he had no idea. Then I'm giving this example simply for you to, not to latch to it, but to give you this reassurance that it is within those years that something incredibly precious is being formed. Foundational, in a way, whatever is being formed is when it formed throughout our teens as we come into this so-called completion of the hypophysis, you know, the thyroid, the hypophysis. This is the completion of that on the level of endocrine system. This is where the physiology will no longer grow, only age. You see? That's the domain of that. That's the great fall. That's the fall. That's the sacred, internal, esoteric dimension of the fall. Prior to that, we're in the paradise as children. And that innocence is at the expense of us having to grow. Why? Because that growth here is the growth of the body, nervous system, and all the faculties, so that then that what is here to express itself can begin to express itself. Like the first 3 years, all sensory experiences are being covered. All of them. This is what they say. By the age of 3, that child, that toddler, already is fully aware of the full range of motor sensory experiences. Full range, unless there, of course, some impediment, but this is not to prove the point. Likewise, when we go through these phases of formation, phases of rapid and utter unpreparedness in terms of what life is and why and what we're doing here, because our culture, unfortunately, doesn't give us purpose, you see? We come here purposeless. In the culture, there's no fucking purpose, I'm sorry, excuse my French, because that's the fact. There's no purpose. If someone will try to tell you that there is purpose, you know, come on, there is purpose, look around you, this is all for nothing. You know, your people who came before you must be because of that purpose that, you know, you're sitting here and I'm sitting here. But the purpose is something which is fundamentally the shared ideas within the culture. And that purpose is not something to look for, you see? So what we touched up on last night, by definition, when we belong to culture, where that concept, understanding of Dharma present, there's no need to look for anything. One only fulfills one's Dharma. So it was very clear. For those who came before us, it was very clear. Then, of course, within that, what already I have to, let's say if I was born in a family where my parents, let's say, fought, and their pursuit and their occupation was to defend, whatever that is, kshatriya, samurai, right, knight of Templar, this is my job. So whether I like it or not, I have to adhere, okay? I will have to wield the sword, I would have to know how to do few moves, I will have to man up, stand up and man up. I may not like that, but that's my Dharma, you see? So the purpose of someone who is born in another family, you know, like florist, variety of flowers, so you will go there. You will be an alchemist. You will know how this and that. You will know how to press the perfume, which roses to put together, so this amazing combination only your family knew. But all that got instinct a long time ago due to the Industrial Revolution. All this era gone by, we live now in a very different reality. So what's the purpose? What's the purpose? None. There is no purpose, because by large we don't know where we're going. We don't know what shared values are, except that we all of course agree that there are some fundamentally shared values, such as that we all want the same thing. No matter how maybe magnanimous and amazing some people at the heart level and how wicked others may seem, we all want the same thing. We all want to experience love, which means we want to be loved and we want to love. It's a fundamental quality of being human. So now we're touching up on some universal aspects of what is a shared reality of who we are. Love is one of the most important, you see? Because if life lived without love, the fundamental quality of why we're here is not fulfilled. So we start with that. So in the absence of what is the purpose, shared purpose, we have to lean on these fundamentals. This is where the Plato become of use. You see, I'm talking about now, this is the predecessors, this is the golden vaults of that knowledge accumulated. This is not knowledge to be discarded. This is the value of philosophy of which I speak more openly now in the last few years, so as not to dismiss everything, we can very easily discard the baby with the bathtub water in all this, what's happening in spiritual circles, you see. This is the value of those who have enriched all that, let's say, library, that collective library of the output of the greatest minds that walked this earth. What is there of value? In this, Plato came to mind simply because of these foundational qualities where love, goodness, right, compassion, kindness, all these are foundational qualities of who we are. But purpose, how to fulfill oneself, what to do, there's nothing to rise to. Nothing. Because our civilization, as it is in the time and at the phase of when nobody knows what's going on. And that nobody knowing actually is a good thing. Because if only we acknowledge that we have no idea, we are clueless, that in itself is a positive thing. But collectively shared consensus at the moment is still veers towards that, no, if only we strain, if only we pursue something, and if only we can crack it down, we can solve it, we can resolve it, you see? So let me say something that's important, not to mess your head up, because I'm really am for that. Because if you think you're messed up, not messed up enough, asking for a teacher or guru, let alone guru, then you must be really out of your mind. Because very few people ask at that age for a teacher or a guru unless they want to be fully messed up. Are you following me?
Halfway.
Huh?
Halfway.
I'm just saying. So, as I said, don't let get into your head. But if you want to be messed up, then you need to know this. It is, if you're lacking of some kind of impetus, then you need to understand that it isn't the guys like you who are clueless, but who are opened, who don't know what, but whose heart is there, where consciousness can come into this world and bring something that needs to be brought in. You see? It cannot come in the guy who is worked it all out at 21, he will tell me how to do this, okay? It's not, because there's no space there at all. Or if anything, it's a complete and utter hollow space, filled with nonsense, you see, pretending to be very important. It only rests in those who can carry newly budding consciousness. And it cannot be carried in someone who figured it all out. You see? So some of us, some of you now, need to have that strength to stand up and be counted. 121-year-old cool-looking dudes will tell you, you're out of your mind, man. Get your shit together, okay? What guru shmuru? You know, get out of that mess. Get yourself job, get yourself proper haircut, get yourself girlfriend, get yourself this, you know. How old? 21? By 29 you should have pension plan and all things worked out. You see? And you standing there, and you feel vulnerable, and you feel thwarted. Can you stand there in your truth? 100 guys, I'm not talking about 3 cool-looking guys, 100 on social media, in your courtyard, in your backyard, in your anywhere. 100 is nothing. You have to be like this guy, Musashi, who can face, who writes down, it doesn't matter in principle whether you fight 1 man or 100 men. What? That's in the Bushido code. When you read that, it doesn't matter in principle whether you fight 1 man or 100. It's the same thing. The same thing, you see? You're doing your job. And you're doing your job correctly, if you're doing your job well, you are there. You will be in one piece left whilst doing your duty. This is important. This is important that you realize and understand that if something for you to get very close to the core of what this is all about, you would have to remain as empty as you could. Because that, what is considered to be the greatest paradox and the greatest mystery, is not trusted into someone who figured it all out and they know it all. Many people come into spiritual work today simply because it's, because that everyone does that. It increases IQ, it increases EQ, it's like it increases, adds something into their life. So it's an addition, it's a bonus. You see? There are workshops for, manifesting your reality, it's like this, utilizing sacred spiritual tradition, the guided, and guarded methodologies for, let's say, how to increase your libido, or, like Tantra, yeah? Of course, it's like how to increase your pleasure, how to drive a better car, how to have another 0 to your salary, like all this. In principle, why not? Of course, as long as people come closer to that, what maybe this will be another door leading to the greater dimension of what their life is about. So we shouldn't really be judgmental or even skeptical about it. But the truth is that what you begin to speak, you're asking for, can only be truly for the one who is become like a burning amber with longing that is eclipsing every other longing. And then, once that truth is touched, because it's impossible not to, because it yields, you see? Because that's what, that longing is not yours or mine. That longing is precious. The true nature of longing is because consciousness longing to know itself. It's the full return. It wants to know itself or bust. Once that is touched, then it can express itself in a myriad of ways of guidance offered in terms of how it will pan itself out. So therefore, since time immemorial, realization was considered to be a prerequisite before anything else. So initiations would start early, as early on as possible. The initiation rites will have to start as early as possible. So that by the time that maturity comes, it comes already fully anchored in being. And when our life is anchored in being, then we can do whatever we want, because then you can figure it all out. If anything is equally filled with and devoted of because of that equality, then anything I do is equally of value. Watch which way you want to lean. If you want to be a nihilist and don't do nothing, what do I care? Can you go around naked in Freiburg? Not in this weather. So maybe you check yourself into India and join these guys. Because that's what it is. It's walking out. It's walking out completely. Okay? Then it doesn't matter. Matted logs, covered in ashes, naked. Don't give a fuck. You walked out. You shook the dust. You see? Utter, complete and utter. This is a full act. But you can't do that half act here. We can't. So therefore you would have to find that act somewhere here. So therefore I felt the teaching is for householder. So therefore if everything is equal, why to lean towards nihilism? Why not to embrace another logical, completely and utterly presenting itself truth? That everything we do is of utmost importance on the account that everything is filled with the same light. So whatever you do then is no longer, I'm doing something here in the little corner of my, It's important because there's no such thing as big or small. You see? So therefore, yes, you're right. Is there any purpose? No. There's no purpose. No purpose. But what's important, there's no shared purpose. You see? The true purpose can only be measured when it is shared. When the purpose is shared, that's what it's called Dharma. The collective consensus is formed out of sum total of the heartbeats, whose pulse is in unison with the universe, in unison with creation. Not out of sync, not out of whack, and then trying to bend its way, trying to prove itself, trying to force itself. So that's your dilemma, and nobody will solve it for you. You see? Nobody will solve it for you. Teacher can only guide you, encourage you, maybe amp you up, but you will be still left to your own devices. At the end of the day, you would be left to your own devices, you see? And even those who say, I have the teacher and that's it, because there are some who only live from that place. That is in reverse, that internal strength, because of that understanding that they live by being fed by that power of incomprehensible devotion. Very few people can do that. But it's very well known in the psychology of seeking, of which we touched just basic grounds yesterday, right? Particularly in the West, but not only, of course, it's everywhere. There have always been this projection onto the spiritual perceptor of these unfulfilled relationships which are parental in nature. And in these unfulfilled relationships, there is this strong element that now Guru Daddy will sort one's life out. My life will be sorted, my health will be sorted, my misery will be sorted. And it's been for decades. It's a very prolonged time it took. You see? That whole guru thing, like my life will be sorted as long as and then people who look for spiritual preceptor so that to unburden themselves cannot be blamed. But at the very same time, they have to wake up and smell the coffee. That's not how it works, you see? The examples of all these miraculous healings, miraculous coming into, miraculous performances, you see? We started with the guy. He goes into the battle, he's invincible because all he thinks about his master, how his master breathes, how his master sees everything. He's not there. He's completely gone, absorbed. That guy is gone. You see? He's not fighting the battle. Of course he's invincible. All the spirits entered into him. The whole lineage entered into him. The whole Shinto entered into him. The whole shogun. Of course these guys then write us books. It doesn't matter when you fight one guy, it's 100 armed guys. Because he's not there. You see? This is the essence of devotion. This is the essence of connection. But it's still on the account of all this is self-generated. Self-generated. Not because someone came and sorted out your life. So, maybe just that for now. And in practical terms, whatever you do, you have to be ready to be ridiculed. You have to be ready to be dressed down. It doesn't matter. You may pick up an instrument, and want to play. It's like, what would you think? You think there are not enough talented guys who want to play instrument? Whichever instrument, whatever, and took this is because, you might look the part, right?
Yeah, I play the guitar and the piano.
Okay, so there we go, How encouraging it is to, there's so many guys who really played like God.
Yeah, this is funny that you just touch up on this, because there had a lot of issues recently with exactly this topic, like judging me and saying, yeah, you will never reach what somebody else reached already.
So what do you say to these people? What can you say? What do you say?
To this voices in my mind, you mean, or?
I don't know. Are these people voices in your mind? Because I'm getting lost now. Should have started with that.
That it's not about to reach something, but to do it fully and...
No. You see, you're going already. You're trying to explain something. Because I fucking love it. Okay? Because I can't live without it. Okay? Why do you love this girl, for example? Or if you're homosexual, if you like guys, Why do you love this guy? And you start looking for reasons. You see, wrong, already wrong.
Yeah.
You don't love woman because of her qualities. It's already a kind of deal making. It's already some kind of, it's like an object. Oh, well, because it's precious stones, What if it wasn't precious, if it's cheap? You don't love it. It, her. No. Because love is a power that we're meant to realize and surrender to. Period. Has no reason. What's the purpose? It has no purpose. It claims those who are courageous enough to be claimed, who are willing enough to be claimed. What's the purpose? The purpose is mysterious. Soon as we want to say what's the real meaning of love, reason, and that, we immediately creating the possibility when the moon is covered by a cloud. See? So, this is what I meant. Whatever we do, there will always be voices in the head and those out there that this is pointless, that you can never do this, you can never do that, get yourself together, get your act together, So you need to already have enough strength and predisposition in you so that you know why you're doing that, because you cannot not do that, you see? But if you can, then begins to be open to question, you see? This is a very simple, easy test. Life is too short in a way not to do what we love doing, see? So really, this is where it fulfills itself. At least you start from there. And then, of course, the line will be constantly, and the resolve will be tested, because the proportion between your karma and your dharma, right, that, let's say, purpose, duty, and that what have to be lived, experienced, will constantly be in that dynamic tension, let's say, see? Where you would have to do something because you have to. And you will be not given an easy way out. There's no easy way out. There's no such thing as, well, I don't. No. Sooner or later, you would adhere to that. You see? But at that age, you better really realize that preciousness of what it represents. You see? And what I said earlier, that not to swell you in any places that with that kind of sense of self-importance, but rather take it into that maybe further reflections, pondering that it is consciousness needs to find its way, it needs to dwell in those whose hearts are opened. And it's better in those who are in their tender youth now, you see? Because that's what is required. It's like, who said that? It's not me who said that, and I don't remember, I've seen that. Life doesn't need more successful people. Our world doesn't need more successful people like Elon Musk, or just saying. Our world needs more compassionate, loving, caring people, you see? That's a very different definition of success. It has to be redefined completely. Redefined. So this is what is required urgently now. And consciousness will look into that, so that there will be enough heads and hearts that are remaining in that place of not knowing what to do. You see? Because then that can be filled in with something precious. Because it's like that. When everything is figured out, no real greater truth can come into and be carried. You see? This is why I said, you're going to be completely messed up. Here we go. Now you're totally messed up. You see? So made sense out of all that mess. Okay? Because nobody will give an exempt. That's the beauty of also of that age and of what that predicament is.
Yeah, thank you for messing me up.
Anytime.